Today, we're unpacking the mechanics of complete, total personal transformation. We so often see the flashy finish line of success, right? But we rarely get to see the microscopic, quiet, and honestly, often painful process that actually builds it. We're going to walk through an absolutely incredible true story that maps out exactly how a person can take a life that feels completely stuck and literally silently rebuild it from the inside out. To really understand this transformation, we have to start right at the baseline of our hero's journey. Picture this. Every single night after midnight, when the office lights shut off and the city goes completely quiet, Noah cleaned floors. Heavy exhaustion and silent, lonely hallways, that was his entire world. People would just walk right past him, treating him like he was totally invisible. And the real tragedy here, after years of struggling financially, emotionally, and mentally, Noah actually started believing them. He felt entirely trapped inside a life he never asked for. Okay, let's dive into this backstory because it's really important. Noah grew up in a crowded neighborhood where, frankly, survival trumped dreams. His parents sacrificed everything, yet the financial stress was just constant. Then, at age 19, his father left, just unexpectedly, without warning. The pressure instantly became unbearable, forcing Noah to drop out of college. And college was a place he secretly hoped would change his future. But he had to do it just to help his mother survive. This whole sequence of events cemented a very dangerous belief in Noah's mind, that life was simply supposed to be difficult forever. And you can imagine this constant physical exhaustion quickly spiraled into a devastating psychological toll. The feeling of being invisible really started destroying his self-worth. Back in school, he used to hear classmates talking about becoming doctors or entrepreneurs, while he was secretly just wondering if he'd ever even escape poverty. The actual breaking point, though, happened one evening when an old classmate visited the building for a business meeting. This classmate recognized Noah, and his expression shifted instantly from surprise to pure pity. Man, that look absolutely crushed Noah internally. It left him feeling just deeply, deeply ashamed. That intense shame, it brought him to absolute rock bottom. It's a rainy night after his shift. Noah is sitting totally alone at a bus stop. He's soaked, he's aching, and he's emotionally broken. He's just staring at the city lights, watching people rush past. And then a terrifying thought enters his mind. Maybe this is all my life will ever become. It terrified him because in that dark moment, he genuinely believed it. He was dangerously close to just giving up entirely. But right here, this is where the pivot happens. An older man sitting nearby actually noticed Noah's exhausted, totally defeated expression. He quietly asked, "Tough night?" Noah just nodded silently. The man smiled slightly and delivered this simple but incredibly powerful truth. He said, "Never confuse your current situation with your final destination." The bus arrived, the man left, but those words hit Noah like a lightning bolt. That night, lying in bed, Noah had a massive realization. His biggest problem wasn't just being broke. It was his deeply held belief that his future could never improve. And this brilliantly illustrates what I like to call the silent rebuild phase. Think about it. Externally, nothing changed. He was still an overnight janitor, still broke, still exhausted. But internally, he initiated an aggressive transformation. He decided to stop feeling sorry for himself and start rebuilding. It's absolutely crucial to understand this. Mindset changes before circumstances do. Noah realized that successful people weren't magically different. They simply had better habits and much stronger mindsets. What's super fascinating here is just how profoundly unglamorous the actual steps of success really are. I mean, there was no flashy movie montage here, just quiet, relentless actions. Waking up earlier, doing push-ups before sleep to build some physical discipline, reading leadership books he'd literally find on the corporate desks he cleaned. Turns out sweeping empty floors is a surprisingly great time to listen to like 400 hours of business audiobooks. Noah was proving right then and there that success is definitely not an accident. It is simply a series of better habits executed relentlessly over time. Now, of course, growth is inherently lonely. As Noah started this silent rebuild, his old friends couldn't really relate anymore. Some mocked his new routines, others actually laughed at his goals, asking if he really thought his life was ever going to change. But Noah, he stopped trying to explain his goals to people who only wanted to tear him down. He internalized a really harsh truth. Most people never transform because they quit way too early. So instead of seeking their approval, he poured every ounce of his energy into absolute, unbreakable consistency. But as we know, life will always test a new mindset. Tragedy struck again when his mother became seriously ill. Crushing hospital bills started piling up rapidly, which forced Noah to take on extra shifts. And with that, the extreme exhaustion and self-doubt returned in full force. One night, standing totally alone in an empty hallway, completely drained, he almost quit. He really did. But he remembered his anchor. Difficult seasons are temporary, but the person you become during those seasons, that changes everything. That specific resilience led directly to his breakthrough. Over the next 2 years, Noah's internal transformation finally began bleeding into his external reality. Instead of just scrolling on his phone during his breaks, Noah was studying business materials. He showed up as consistently reliable, intensely focused, and just embodied discipline in every single action. So when the company needed someone to organize internal operations, they didn't even look externally. A manager had actually seen the potential that everyone else completely ignored and offered Noah the role. It was terrifying, sure, but it was life-changing. He refused to run from growth, and he accepted. That decision changed absolutely everything. Months passed, and Noah worked harder than ever. The exact same person who used to be completely ignored while cleaning those very hallways was now sitting in meetings, confidently solving complex problems. People genuinely respected his presence. And you want to know the ultimate victory? Years later, Noah moved his mother into a peaceful, beautiful apartment completely far away from their painful past. One evening, looking at him with just immense pride, she told him, "You never gave up." All right, let's take a step back from Noah's story for a second. This brings us to the absolute foundational law of personal transformation. Mindset changes before circumstances do. Most people, honestly, get this entirely backward. They wait for their life to improve before they decide to improve themselves. They wait for the promotion to start working hard, or they wait for the money to learn about finance. But transformation works in the exact opposite direction. Noah's greatest victory wasn't actually getting the corporate job. It was completely rebuilding his belief in himself while he was still holding a mop. Which brings us to a very real, very raw question for you. Do you also feel invisible right now? Maybe your life feels incredibly heavy. Maybe your current situation embarrasses you, kind of like how Noah felt when his old classmates saw him. Maybe you feel totally stuck in a job, a relationship, or a financial situation that you never wanted, and you're starting to believe, hey, maybe this is all my life will ever become. I want you to confront that feeling right now, because acknowledging exactly where you are is the absolute first step to leaving it behind. So, the crucial point is, if you want to change your life, you have to follow this exact framework. Improve yourself first, before the external rewards arrive. Read the books, build the skills, fix your routine while literally no one is watching. You have to refuse to quit during the difficult, lonely seasons when people don't understand your new habits and life throws setbacks at you. And rely entirely on painful, daily consistency. Look, motivation is going to fade, for sure, but discipline will carry you through. The process is slow, but it undeniably works.
Years later, Noah walked through those exact same office hallways he once cleaned overnight. Everything looked familiar, but he had changed completely. He realized that the struggle he once absolutely hated was actually the forge that created the strongest version of himself. So I'll leave you with this final thought. What if your current darkest moment is actually the exact training ground you need right now? The discipline you build right now, in the dark, creates the future you currently think is impossible. Don't quit before the miracle happens. Thanks for joining me in this explainer, and we'll see you next time.